All right, I'm showing 2 o'clock, and we've established that we have quorum. So we will kick off this meeting of the Northern Middlesex Metropolitan Planning Organization today, April 22nd, 2026. Happy Earth Day, everybody. I'm going to just read the notice of non-discrimination. You are invited to participate in our transportation planning process, regardless of your race, color, national origin, including limited to English proficiency, religion, creed, gender, ancestry, ethnicity, disability, age, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, veteran status, or background. Kelly, please call the roll.
All right. Derek Schuster.
Derek Schuster, representing Interim Secretary and CEO of MassDOT, Philip Ing.
Tim Paris.
Hi, Tim Paris, representing Highway Administrator Jonathan Gulliver.
Right. Pat Wotus.
Here.
Stephen Themelis.
Steve Themelis, NMMPO Chair.
Belinda Duran.
Here.
I don't believe Tom Bommel or Bob are here. Karen Pulio.
Here.
All right. So we have quorum ready to go.
All right, sounds good. We'll move on to the next agenda item, which I believe is open forum. At this time, do we want to do the open comment period for a tip amendment number 3, or is it 4?
4.
Oh,
Yeah,
4.
It is 4.
Yes. Yeah.
I think the agenda says 3. Just yeah.
Oh,
4 for the
apologies.
record.
It
All
is
good.
4 for the record. I don't see any hands raised.
Okay. Is there anyone who would like to make comment on anything other than the tip amendment? If so, please use the raise hand feature at this time. I'm not seeing any hands raised either. So we can close the comment period for tip amendment number 4 and the open forum. However, if anyone from the public attending today does wish to make a comment during the rest of the MPO meeting, just please use the raise hand feature and wait to be called on by the chair. Next item on today's agenda is approval of the March 25th, 2026 Northern Middlesex MPO meeting minutes. The meeting minutes were shared in advance of today's MPO board meeting. Could I please have a motion and second to approve the meeting minutes as drafted?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Steve.
Second.
Thank you, Pat or Belinda.
Pat.
Pat. All right. Are there any recommended changes or revisions to the minutes? Seeing and hearing none, Kelly, please call the roll.
Right. Derek Schuster.
Yes.
Tim Paris.
Yes.
Pat Wotus.
Yes.
Steve Themelis.
Yes.
Belinda Duran.
Yes.
Karen Pulio.
Yes.
All right, unanimous motion passes. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Next item is the Greater Lowell Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan.
All right, and we are going to have, I think just to kick this off, we started, I believe, in February of 2025, contracting with Tool Design as a consultant on this project. We spent, I think more than 150 hours of staff and volunteer time over the course of last summer, engaging with the public. We went to farmers markets and music events and town like public outdoor meetings and just a variety of different pop-up events all across the region in almost every single one of our communities. We held walk audits in 5 of our communities, and I think with tremendous support from NMMPO staff, I particularly want to acknowledge Emmanuel Regassa and Apple Gold Schultz, who's not at NMMPO anymore, but both of them were both instrumental in all of the outreach and engagement, as well as volunteers from all of our staff and the advisory committee. The advisory committee members were always at one of our public outreach events. And so we were able to talk to thousands of people, and we had, I think, almost 2,000 points on a map where people wanted to see bicycle and pedestrian improvements. And so this has been a huge effort through staff and volunteers, and we're really excited to have a draft of the plan to present to you today. So with that, I am going to hand this over to our consultants from Tool Design. We have Katrina Sorry, Katrina, I never refer to you by your last name. Katrina
Higher.
Meyer, thank you, from Tool Design, and then Perry Scheinbaum, also from Tool Design, who've been working really closely with us, meeting at least every other week since last week, February. So I feel like we're almost like adopted staff members at Tool, or they're adopted staff members at NMCOG. But we're going to have them present the draft plan. And so please go ahead and take it away.
Wonderful. So thanks for the introduction, Kelly. We're going to give about like a 10-ish minute presentation and then look for any, be happy to answer any questions or have any discussion. My name is Katrina Meyer. I'm a transportation planner. I manage Tool Design's Boston-based group of fabulous transportation planners. And it's been a real pleasure to work with the NMCOG team. As Kelly said, the staff at NMCOG really led on the engagement front, where we supported and then handled all kind of the technical front. So if you jump to the next slide, starting at the beginning last spring, we worked to develop a vision and goals to guide what this plan hopes to achieve. This is rooted in past planning work that the region has done, as well as input received from our advisory committee and from some of that first phase public engagement. So since it's important, I'll take a moment to read the vision statement. So this is the future that we want this plan to build towards. The Northern Middlesex region is a cohesive region where people walking, rolling, bicycling, wheeling, and taking transit feel safe and comfortable across the region's 9 municipalities. People using active modes of transportation for both travel and recreation is the norm in the region, and more people choose these active modes. So underneath that, we have a few goals that I won't read in detail, but cover a lot of those key themes around a network that is cohesive, connected, safe, comfortable, around creating a world, a region where walking and bicycling is for recreation and it's for getting to your destinations. And then how does that connect to other goals around housing, economic development, and how is that supported by education and policy? So if you flip to the next slide, the planning process set out to achieve developing networks, walking and bicycling networks, which we'll show you in this presentation, that align with that vision and goals. As I mentioned, it's rooted in an analysis of relevant past planning, both at the regional scale and the municipal scale. We have a toolbox of recommended treatments, which you'll get a taste of on the bicycle side in our presentation today. And then, pivoting towards implementation. We know that the COG staff, wants this to be a plan that doesn't sit on the shelf. And so how can we set up with funding matrices, with policy recommendations, the next steps of work? Next slide, please. Community engagement. Kelly gave some really awesome highlights from that work. I'll say these numbers are maybe just the ones from the online survey and map, but tons of comments here. Lots of different avenues that Kelly described for reaching the community through those pop-ups and walking audits, an in-person open house in the early phase of the project, a virtual open house in a later phase of the project. And, we heard common concerns around unsafe speeding and intersections and the need for more connectivity for walking and bicycling. We also heard a lot of love for the trails that anchor the region and the Bruce Freeman and people wanting to see better connection and expanded access to that. Next slide, please. Oh, yeah. And then this was a great finding that you'll see highlighted in the plan. While if you look at the census data as we did, everybody is, the majority are driving to work. From the survey, we asked folks, how often do you walk or bicycle? And this shows us that 80% of folks walk or travel with the aid of a wheelchair or mobility device at least weekly, and about 1/3 of respondents bicycle at least weekly. So this just shows that walking and bicycling is part of the region already, just maybe it's not always so apparent or visible to everyone, and we want that to grow. Next slide, please. So a big part of this work is developing the future walking and bicycling maps and networks. Based on the goals, we came up with these different principles to guide that network development. So under equity, each of these is a principle, and then we found a way to measure it through the mapping phases of this work. So equity, we looked at environmental justice areas. For comfort, we looked at traffic volumes and vehicular posted speed limits to assess, is this a place I'd feel comfortable riding a bicycle? For access, we had a whole exercise of mapping different types of destinations and focusing new connections on access to those destinations. And then for safety, we built on the Vision Zero plan that the region just completed and focused on locations highlighted as unsafe through that process. So for those networks, we developed, next slide, that was perfect. We developed one regional bicycle network and then 9 discrete pedestrian networks. Walking trips are shorter, so those are a little bit more focused within each of the 9 municipalities. So for the next slide, I'll turn it over to my colleague Perry to talk through the networks.
Thanks, Katrina. As Katrina just mentioned, also I'll just say, my name is Perry Scheim. I'm a project planner at Tool Design. So as Katrina just mentioned, we developed individual networks for each community. Obviously, most people are walking locally, and so we wanted to make sure that each of these communities had their own network and had kind of these nodes. So as you'll see, these kind of red circular blobs are kind of focused at these like networks in downtown centers where there's a lot of destinations maybe, or lots of people congregating, either there's homes or schools. And so that's kind of where we're prioritizing a full connected pedestrian network. And then you'll see these kind of squiggly lines, and those are kind of sidewalks that we're suggesting either they're connecting locations or maybe they're expanding on an existing sidewalk, but also adjacent to destinations. And then again, as Katrina was just mentioning before, focusing on kind of the equity component and making sure that it's connecting and getting people to where they live and where they want to go. And here we also, so as you see, there are 2 different colors here. For the prioritization, we kind of are focusing on the short term on these kind of circular blobs, because those are kind of where the destinations are, where people are most likely wanting to walk. And then longer term, kind of connecting through these longer segments. So that's why you'll see those 2 different colors. The red is kind of more of the short term, and then the purple is more of the medium term. And then just noting here that once this full network is built out, it'll be double what is currently on the streets today. So that's very exciting. Okay, next slide, please. And then for the bicycle network, we really focus on a regional approach. Obviously, there's already a great deal of trails in this region, and we wanted to kind of complement what's already on the ground. So we kind of did a full different prioritization of how these networks came to be. So as you'll see, there's kind of short, medium, and long term as well. Again, these were decided based off community engagement, connection to destinations, bicycle level of traffic stress, which is like how comfortable it is for folks to bike. And then also if there's a previous history of crashes, or if it's on the high risk network that the Greater Lowell Vision Zero plan documented. So those were kind of how we developed this network. And then for the prioritization, we used kind of a matrix scoring of based on those criteria. So ones that are in the shorter term have a higher ranking, and therefore they're either in a environmental justice community, or they are along the bicycle level of traffic stress, or adjacent to destinations. So again, kind of you'll see here, each community has a short-term segment, and that was intentional to make sure that all the communities at least have something to build towards in the short-term future. And as again, you'll see that on the left-hand side, once this is all fully built out, there'll be 138 miles of bicycle facilities, which is quite a big increase from 18 miles, which is currently today. And that will be able to kind of link people to different regional destinations, be able to kind of use these facilities for both utility and pleasure. Okay, next slide. So also in the plan, we included some recommendations of what these facilities would look like. So that map we just showed kind of shows the different prioritization, but then we also kind of took it a step further and looked at what is the potential bike facility that these could be. And so it's pretty simple. It's based off of roadway volume, how many vehicles per day, and then the speed limit. So you'll see kind of this like little matrix that shows, the higher the volumes, the higher the speeds, the more likely, or the recommendation is to then have an off-road path, bike lane, shared use path, and then a bike lane with a buffer, and then a shared lane or a bike boulevard. And so on the right, you can kind of see what these recommendations are for off-street facilities. So kind of these higher volumes, higher speeding roads, we recommend these shared use paths. And then for kind of medium speeding, medium vehicle capacity, bike lanes and buffered bike lanes are preferred. I mean, if there's, depending on the roadway width, the roadway topology, potential for other like separated bike lanes. But I think generally it also is a recommendation, what we put together, understanding that, there's also some other constraints that we're not aware of. This is kind of just a planning level map. And so that is also important to keep in mind because sometimes just based off of the capacity or what's taking place on a roadway, different facilities would be appropriate.
Thanks, Perry. And so just this is a little sneak peek of the toolbox of what those different types of treatments look like. All that guidance Perry shared is documented in the plan. And then if you flip to the next slide, we know that it's not all about the lines we draw on a map. There is an extensive section in the plan that is policy, program, and also kind of project development recommendations for moving this plan forward. Like Perry said, some of these locations require a more in-depth corridor study. There's other kind of trail advocacy that is occurring in the region that, we wanted to document. In addition to recommendations that connect this work to housing and zoning goals. So a lot of that is in this big table of 68 actions at the end of the plan. And with that, I think we'll wrap up the presentation and open it up. Or Kelly, anything to add as we wrap up here?
Just to add that, so we're we're asking the MPO today to vote to release this plan for public comment. So we'll have this open for public comment for 21 days. Because we've had so much engagement of the plan, we want to have 2 virtual public meetings to allow public comment. So those will be on May 5 at noon and May 6 at noon and May 7 at 7 p.m. But we're also going to be setting up a page on our engagement platform where people can submit comments virtually. So we're going to do a big push tomorrow just to promote the fact that the plan, that should the MPO vote today to release it for public comment, we'll do a big push tomorrow to just promote the fact that the plan is actually available for review. For everyone here, it was posted on Friday night to the calendar event for this page, and you can access it there. Otherwise, you'll be able to get to it from the front page of our website starting tomorrow. But again, I just really want to thank Tool and everybody on the NMCOG team. It's been a really fun partnership pulling this plan together, and I think there's parts of the document that all of us have written collaboratively, and it's just been a really great learning exercise for my team. And I'm just really grateful to Tool for their leadership on this process. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Kelly, Katrina, and Perry. Are there any questions for our speakers on the active transportation plan draft?
I have one, just general comment, actually a question. We got in that survey, the 445 survey responses. What were like the most common, say the top 1 or 2 for both the Lowell bicycle and the pedestrian plan? What came up frequently the most asked question or concerns? I guess Katrina?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Katrina.
Yeah, I can take that, but happy if any of the NMCOG staff want to jump in as well. vehicle speeding is like a top reason for sure that folks list for not feeling comfortable out there walking or bicycling, and crossing locations. I think that was another big highlight. Um, those are the two that jumped out at the top of the list for me. Yeah, anything to add?
Yeah, I think it's those. It's funny because you could have an existing like a really nice sidewalk, but if you don't have a good crosswalk to get to a bus stop or to the grocery store, and I think that's why we included those key regional destinations like grocery stores, because those kind of trips don't show up on the American Community Survey as how people are traveling. Running errands and getting those day-to-day life necessities, those are the kind of trips that often can be replaced by walking or biking. And so sometimes it's just a matter of providing a better crossing, a safer crosswalk for people to get to those destinations. So hearing about that, I think, was really important. And I don't know, Emmanuel, if there was anything else that popped out to you from the survey responses, or if that kind of covers it.
Yeah, that kind of covers it. Connectivity is also a huge issue. Sidewalks, crossing. So, yeah.
And I think, crosswalk or sidewalks in general, very popular. Like everybody wants sidewalks. The challenge we do understand is for a lot of our municipalities, they are also responsible for clearing sidewalks. And it really became a hot topic this winter when we had all of these storms. So it's trying to balance the financial burden and time, the operational cost in our communities for clearing sidewalks with the demand for sidewalks, those other 360 days out of the year when they aren't covered with snow. So how do we strike that right balance? I think that's where some of the policy recommendations are really important to thinking about the implementation of the sidewalk network.
Just one more question, Kelly, on the recommendation, what happens to those? Who reviews those recommendations? Who utilizes those recommendations for the future? I mean, we're talking locally, like the city of Lowell or planning boards, or how would that work in the future?
This plan doesn't compel any of our communities to action. Although I will say that, should the NPO vote to adopt the plan or endorse the plan in May, this is going to be included in, we may update our transportation evaluation criteria to reflect some of the goals of the plan. We definitely will be using this plan to help to guide selections for micro project investments through the TIP. And we can also work closely with our communities to help them to implement sections of the plan through our unified planning work program. We're actually, one of the things I'm going to talk about later today is our list of tasks for our next UPWP. And some of those tasks will involve implementation of this plan, which is looking at, where do we have crosswalks and how can they be improved? Or where do we have bike parking and where could we augment that across the region? So I would say, NIMCOG primarily owns implementation, but we are more than happy to work with each and every one of our communities to implement sections of the plan locally.
Excellent, thank you.
Great question, Steve. Christina.
Good afternoon. Just a quick question. The report that we're looking at now has a very high level zoomed out map that shows the priorities in each community. Will there be, when this goes out for public comment, will there be a way for people to see a little bit more detail so they can have a better understanding where these additions are really proposed?
We are working on a story map, so it would be an online GIS-based map that you can zoom in and see specific roads and streets. And yeah, I know it's hard because there's not like street names on all of these things, and you might have a parallel street. So we can work to make that GIS map available sooner during the public comment period instead of just having to rely on the PDF maps.
Okay. Is it available for the municipalities to look at now?
I don't believe so, but I can talk with my staff and see about how quickly we can get that published or available for municipal staff.
All right, thank you.
Sarah, if Belinda has a question or comment.
Yeah,
thank
you. Go ahead, Belinda.
Yeah, thanks. I had some similar comments which I didn't share with Kelly offline about some of the tables and stuff. I glanced through the entire plan. I think it was helpful to hear about sort of who is going to own it, because I think funding is going to be a challenge. I do think winter is a challenge anyway, you know, I mean, we need to be realistic about that. And, you know, a third of the 445 survey respondents, I just calculated, there are roughly 335,000 people in this district. So 445 survey respondents, of which 150 bike, is not necessarily reflective of, you know, the reality. So, and I also just wanted to touch on, I thought on page 99 of the PDF where there was discussion about integrated speeding assistance and other things. I have been talking with our transportation planner in Lowell about that, because I think those kinds of tools with modern car technology are going to be really important to help us all. Thanks.
Great feedback, Belinda. Thank you. Karen.
Thank you. I just wanted to comment on the report itself. It appears pretty exhaustive. A lot of work that went into it. Do want to appreciate that. In addition to that, commenting too that lining this up with Vision Zero is an important piece. You know, that starts though, you know, the who, what, where, when, why are we doing this type of thing? And I think all of us can see that increase not only in pedestrian traffic, but bicycling and micro mobility devices are increasing. And I think it's very timely for this report to come out. You know, it will be multi-year. We will have funding issues. But even as you look into the suburbs, they are seeing an increase, or I personally am seeing an increase in those micro mobility devices that are oftentimes electric powered versus people powered. And I think we're going to continue to see those as they provide an economic means for people to have transportation. So again, I just want to kind of kudos on being on top of it. I know it's going to be a lot of work, and I think we just need to figure out the way to, you know, keep the pedestrians and the bicycling community safer. And then also figure out that space of where a powered micro mobility device is versus a person micro mobility device, and how those, you know, two align also.
Thanks for that comment, Karen. I actually wanted to echo that, and I was prepared to share something in the chat. So I didn't see mention of this in my skim of the report this morning, but there was a special commission on micromobility created by the Massachusetts legislature, charged with producing a study that included 3 tasks: review of current state and local laws and regulations for micromobility vehicles, recommendations to regulate micromobility vehicles, including on bike paths, sidewalks, and shared use paths, so addressing some of Karen's concerns. And lastly, recommendations to support the expansion of micromobility vehicle use and innovation, including shared micromobility options for municipalities. Now, the jury's still out on whether the legislature will adopt any of the recommendations from this report that was published or released January 31st. But I would encourage, you know, as part of some formal feedback that MassDOT will provide on the active transportation plan, I would encourage Tool and NIMCOG to review that report if you hadn't already, and see if there's any guidance in that can be linked with regard to regulatory recommendations that would otherwise be consistent across the Commonwealth. I'm part of an active transportation committee in the community I live in, and I know that there's been some debate over whether local laws or regs should be enforced, but there's not really a way to enforce currently with state regulation, and a lot of the recommendations you would want to see on your own paths would really defer to statewide regulation in general. So it would help to see this plan reinforce that and be consistent. And yeah, kudos, like others have said, these are exhaustive plans, and I'm excited to more comprehensively dive into what's been featured in the report as well. So this is really exciting for the region that you've drafted this. I think this might be the first one for the Northern Middlesex region, by comped plan or an active transportation plan.
I think we had one in 1975.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That was a good year.
Great year, yeah. Justin, you
Yeah,
weren't at the college
I
event,
did
were you?
that. I did that back in 1975. Yes.
There you go.
Well, yeah, so certainly a good opportunity for the refresh. That said, are there any other comments or questions before we take a motion? Seeing and hearing none, could I please have a motion and second to release the Greater Lowell Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan for 21-day public comment?
So moved.
Thank you.
I'll second. Yeah, I'll second. Belinda will second.
All right, Pat and Belinda. Kelly, please call the roll.
Yeah. Derek Schuster,
Yes.
Tim Paris,
Yes.
Pat Wojcik,
Yes.
Steve Themelis,
Yes.
Belinda Duran,
Yes.
Karen Pulio.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you. You will all get a notice tomorrow and instructions on how to submit comments, or you're welcome to join us at either of those public meetings if you want to just writing them down can be a pain. So if you want to just vocalize them, we'll write them down for you. So thank you so much.
If you'd like to just first comment, now that it's the comment period, page 5, Ayer is spelled A-Y-E-R, not Irie. Just wanted to flag that so you avoid pitchforks from the community.
We'll
That's
fix
the
that
first
right
one I
away.
cut. Yeah, thanks.
Oh, and actually, there's another typo. I'll put it in the notes, Kelly.
Yeah. All right. All right. Next item on today's agenda is Federal Fiscal Year 26 to 30 Transportation Improvement Program Amendment number 4. The public comment period closed at the start of this meeting for this, and I will defer to Kelly for the rest of the presentation.
Yeah.
Unless Blake is in the room or
No, Blake is unfortunately sick today, so I'm taking over this. This, and I know the LRTA can elaborate, but we did present on this and had the summary and the calendar event for today's meeting. The purpose of this amendment is really to just move some money for the LRTA for purchase of vehicles. And we did have this out for a 21-day public comment period. We did not receive any comments via email and none at the beginning of this meeting. So if there are questions, I know Allie and Justin are here and can also respond to those questions. Otherwise, request to the MPO is to not vote to release it for public comment, but actually vote to endorse. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Are there any questions about tip amendment number 4? Hearing and seeing none, could I please have a motion and second to endorse or approve tip amendment number 4?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Steve.
Second.
Thank you, Pat. Kelly, please call the roll.
Derek Schuster,
Yes.
Tim Paris,
Yes.
Pat Wojcik,
Yes.
Steve Themelis,
Yes.
Belinda Duran,
Yes.
Karen Pulio.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next item is Federal Fiscal Year 26 Unified Planning Work Program Amendment number 1.
All right. So I think this is probably the 3rd year in a row where we've had budget amendments to the UPWP. This is kind of the point in time in the year where we recalibrate our budget and our spend down. It's really, a combination of things. We have new requirements from Federal Highway and Federal Transit on reporting. And we know those are going to take some additional administrative work. So we've put additional funding into some of our manager tasks to accomplish that. We did have a little bit of staff turnover and training this year. And so, during those gaps in staffing and as we were onboarding new staff, we had higher than expected, bill down in certain areas and then lower than expected bill down in other areas. So we're just trying to rebalance those amounts to reflect what tasks we actually are going to be able to accomplish. And then we did have some project schedules change. In particular, we did discover after the endorsement of the UPWP, because our region is now in air quality attainment status, we don't have to update our long range transportation plan on a 4-year cadence anymore. We now get to update it on a 5-year cadence. So we'd allocated a lot of budget into really starting to scope and get the work done for our next long range transportation plan. But now we're able to kind of stretch that over another year. So we're going to move some of that funding into areas where we need it more. And then just generally recalibrating those time allocations across code. Just to kind of highlight some of the changes, adding some funds into task area 1. This is really our management area. So, where we coordinate MPO activities, do a lot of regional coordination, and then our management. So you can see where, those new federal requirements, we're adding an additional $5,000 to help accomplish those reporting requirements. In task area 2, which is where we kind of work to maintain transparency in our data, we actually had budgeted for 4 large public workshops over the course of the year, but it seems like we're only going to do 3. So we're recommending to take about $5,000 and move that into some of these other tasks. We'll still be able to accomplish the rest of the activities that we had proposed under public engagement. We also contracted for Social Pinpoint, which is our engagement platform, a little bit later than anticipated. So we, just that delay in schedule kind of means that some of the money that we thought we were going to spend didn't get spent right away. As I mentioned, we have a different cadence for our long-range transportation plan. So we're proposing to move $25,000 out of task 3.1 and move it into task areas 1 and I believe 5 and 6. And then today, Emmanuel is going to be presenting our TIP review study for 2026. We don't really need to work on that task, so that task will be complete after today. And so we're proposing to move $3,000 out of that area for the next, to move it into other areas where we can spend it. And then under miscellaneous local technical assistance, we have been, last year, we did some work with Chelmsford on a streetscape project. They've asked us to help continue that work. And so, we're adding a description for that work into our UPWP and then moving $8,000 into that miscellaneous local technical assistance to accomplish that work. I think our biggest changes are under task area 6. Once we complete the bicycle and pedestrian plan, and as the MPO eventually votes to adopt or endorse that plan, we want to make sure there's enough money in there that we can get started on implementation instead of waiting until October 1. So moving an additional $10,000 into that task, moving that out of transportation-oriented development because that's really underspent at this point, again, due to staff turnover. And then moving some additional funds into our economic development tasks because we're really working hard on implementation of our comprehensive economic development strategy. And that includes working on a regional growth strategy, which strongly relates to our next long-range transportation plan. And then finally, because one of our staff, we did hire a consultant to do our bus stop inventory, and that ended up being a very efficient process. So we didn't need as much staff time under task 7.1 as we anticipated. So again, when we're efficient, it's nice to be able to move that money into areas where we can actually get more accomplished. So overall, those are our requests for the amendment. Because we are moving a sizable portion of money around, this actually is an amendment, not an adjustment. So we're requesting that the MPO vote to release this for a 21-day public comment period. And we'll include this in those public hearings for the bike ped plan and then the transportation improvement program. And we'll bring any comments received back to you in May with a request for endorsement, although I'm happy to answer questions right now.
Thank you, Kelly. Are there any questions about the proposed changes to the Unified Planning Work Program? All right, seeing and hearing none, could we please have a motion and second to release the amendment number 1 to the UPWP?
Motion to approve.
Release.
Release.
Thanks, Steve.
You're welcome.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded. Kelly, please call the roll.
Derek Schuster,
Yes.
Tim Paris,
Yes.
Pat Wotus,
Yes.
Stephen Themelis,
Yes.
Belinda Duran,
Yeah.
Karen Pulio.
Yes.
Great, motion passes. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Next item is federal fiscal year 27 to 31 TIP development.
All right. So we are in April. Last month you voted to approve scenario 1B. Thank you for that. That gave us something to work with for our TIP report, which we're presenting to you today. So just, I shared with you the overall TIP development timeline. We'll talk about project prioritization and the financial plan, and then our plans for public engagement after this. So this is just a repeat of what we shared last month, which is our regional target funding for 2027 through 2031. This hasn't changed. We had looked last month at the project readiness and had a great conversation around how to handle some of these projects that aren't going to be ready in 2027 anymore, and what that did to our budget projections and various scenarios. And based on that, as well as an understanding from you that it is important to maintain steady funding year over year for these two pilot programs, for our design advancement program and our micro projects funding program, you voted to approve scenario 1B. And that scenario both prioritizes projects according to their transportation evaluation criteria score, and it also maintains funding for the design advancement program, which funds engineering work, or design engineering work, and then also for the micro projects funding program every year from 2027 through 2031. So this is the, after some fine tuning and ESTIP, and thanks to Derek's help, this is our final selected scenario for our highway, our regional highway budget tip. And again, this really, oops, sorry. As selected, this provides funding for micro projects and our project design program, and we're also flexing funds to the LRTA for bus purchases in 2027. From 28 through 31, we're funding both the micro projects and the project design program. If in any future year we aren't able to, and these can be recalibrated in our next tip cycles. So, if these amounts, after piloting the programs this year, if these amounts don't seem reasonable, when we do our next tip funding cycle, we'll adjust these to reflect reality. But we did want to maintain, I think, based on your direction, it's important to communicate to our communities that there would be funding available for micro projects and for engineering and design work. And then under this scenario, the Lowell connector starts in 2028, Vinyl Square in 28 and 29. And then the Tewksbury intersection improvements they have an earmark. So that would start funding in 28 and then continue in 2029. Westford would begin in 2029 and be advanced construction over 29 and 30. And then the Chelmsford traffic signal installation, thanks to MassDOT's ability to contribute this $7.1 million in 2029, it would begin in that year and then continue on through 2031, where it would be joined with the Tewksbury improvements at Shawsheen, Foster, Patton, and Beach. These are the transit projects as presented by the LRTA, and these are also incorporated into the Transportation Improvement Program. And then when you look through the document, we also have individual project summaries for each page that we updated, and that's to reflect. So on those summary pages, you can see the greenhouse gas analysis, you can see the total cost of the project, how that project scored on our transportation evaluation criteria, a little bit of a description and location, and then the total cost of that project. And I'm going to hand it over to John to explain the equity analysis that we conducted as part of this project.
Thank you. Yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know me, I'm John Doolin. I'm a transportation planner here at NMMPO. And as part of the latest round of the TIP development, we also ran a project distribution analysis, which essentially means we took all the projects that were funded on the TIP or planned to be funded on the TIP from 2017 through 2031 and did several analyses on them. Blake did a lot of that work, and unfortunately, as he said earlier, he's out sick, so I got to give him credit, can't take credit right now. He did a lot of this work, but I'm happy to talk about it. So first off, one of the areas we looked at was the distribution across demographics, specifically related to minority populations and low income populations. And the three, well, I guess you could say four biggest takeaways, where the one was there was a decrease in funding to minority populations and an increase in funding for non-minority populations from the 2017 to 2026 decade to now the 2027 through 2031 proposed TIP. And then there's also an increase in funding for low-income populations. So there's sort of a decrease for minority populations, but an increase for low-income populations on this specific TIP. And overall, there is a relatively fair distribution across low income and non-low income funding in the region, which is good to see, but there's definitely room for improvement across minority populations in the region. You go to the next slide. And then just to summarize overall funding, there were 34 projects that were either funded from 2017 through 2026 or are planned to be funded from the next tip cycle. And obviously Lowell tends to lead that given its larger population, but that's seconded by Chelmsford at around 82 million. And then Billerica, Tewksbury, and Westford saw similar chunks of funding at around $30 million. Dracut and Dunstable saw relatively small chunks at about 5 million each, and then Pepperell and Tingsboro remain without TID projects during this window. So there's clearly room to engage with communities that haven't had opportunities to get in this window. So hopefully we can get more projects going in that realm.
Thanks, John. And so we are asking the MPO to vote to release the tip for 21-day public comment period. Starting tomorrow through May 14. We'll have those 2 virtual public meetings, and then after the 14th, we'll respond to any public comments as well as comments from Federal Highway, Federal Transit, and MassDOT, and we'll present those changes to you at the May meeting. So we're happy to answer any questions right now. Otherwise, we will take public comment throughout the public comment period.
Thank you, Kelly. Are there any questions or comments on the 27 to 31 tip development as presented?
I just have a question about the meetings that you're gonna have. And it looks like all 3 of these projects, and I don't know if there's any more coming after this, are gonna have to be on the same days. Are you gonna have them separate? Are you gonna have a presentation of one and then have comments and a presentation of the next and then have comments, or how do you intend to do that?
So for this, we'll basically see who shows up. My anticipation is that we will have the majority of participation for the bike ped plan. And so we would have a conversation around the bike ped plan first. And then if we do get any participation regarding the tip or the UPWP amendment, then we would also have those conversations probably after the bike ped plan. But it's kind of depending on who would show up for those meetings. It's in a way, we feel like it's better to have 2 meetings where we could address all of those things at 2 different times a day and 2 different days of the week. Just to get broader participation. Some people will join at a lunch hour, other people wouldn't join until after work. And so kind of offering those times and then just being nimble enough to address the needs of whoever shows up for those meetings and respond to those comments in the moment. That's kind of how we frame those meetings.
Okay, so it's kind of on demand.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll have presentations ready for all 3 things. Yeah, all 3 amendments or all 3 items. And then we'll just go with who's ever in the room.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Pat. Thanks, Kelly. Before it gets voted for a release for public comment, I'm sorry if I'm anal on this. Table 6, page 16, there's a typo for project 607401 of about $64 million more for commitment on a traffic signal install project. Then yeah, there's an extra, there's a 2 added after the 6. I caught it in your presentation, but I checked the document and the table has the typo also. So
we'll fix that before it gets officially out for public comment. Thank you.
Yeah, it's minor.
Well, it's not.
It's a minor typo, big implication.
Yeah.
So if anything else, it'll avoid a tip amendment.
I am glad you caught that. Thank you.
All right.
Actually, I think you should look at that entire table because I think there is another place where there are 4 digits.
Oh, you're right. You were right.
Yeah.
612609 in 2028. There's a 1. And I wonder if that has to do with I noticed earlier you had footnotes for a couple projects, dollar amounts. So I think when they got transferred to another place, it got turned into an integer and not a footnote.
And then transferred it back out of SharePoint. So I bet something might have gotten a little funky there.
And the dangers of bringing Excel tables into Word. So thank you for we will fix both of those before. So it'd be voting to release as amended.
Yes. And you know, MassDOT and others MassDOT always submits more comprehensive comments during the public comment period. So we'll look through the document as well and let you know if we see any others.
A question still,
Yes, Steve.
Derek. Okay, Kelly, back to that pie circle you showed before, where Pepperell 0 and Tingsboro was 0%. Do you know what the reason is for that? Any ideas why we're not really participating as much as we should be at 0%? Is it
Yeah.
is it the outreach? Is just the types of planning that these small towns are trying to they don't have the staff available to really put forward any projects, or what's your interpretation from all this?
Well, I mean, I know Pepperell's, with Ken and now with Paul, you have great engineers on staff. It's not because they're, not doing the work. I think the cost to prepare a project for the tip can be kind of prohibitive. Like there's just a high cost of design. I think some of our communities, I know Dunstable has, if you have fewer roadways, you may be able to stretch those Chapter 90 funds a little bit further. And so I know that the town has really kind of shepherded those funds. I also, Justin, if you have additional intel on this based on your institutional memory from Pepperell, please pipe in. But it's just a matter of kind of preparing projects to meet MassDOT project design guidelines, and then maintaining that project through the tip cycle. I think the last one in Pepperell was around Railroad Square, or the covered bridge, if I remember correctly.
It was the bridge. It was the bridge. Yep.
That's ways back.
A long time ago.
Yeah. And so, we're hopeful that if this design funding is available, that might help the town to address some of those projects, because it would reduce the cost of design from 100% to 20%. But, we'll continue to work with any of our communities that have projects that they're trying to advance to the tip. Communities fund those projects in a lot of different ways, and it's not always through the tip.
Okay. Would you reach out to the various departments to, put it back on the radar, that just the opportunities available for them? I'm not sure what they're doing in those departments, especially in terms of projects, future projects, so forth. But I mean, the outreach is there, I'm sure, through NMMPO. I'm just wondering, after this transportation improvement program amendment, if there, be any more outreach, because of looking at this graph here, it's kind of shocking, really.
Yeah. And we are, one thing, John and I are working together on like an application process for communities for the tip design funding, to help promote the fact that we will have those funds available and encourage our communities to apply and answer any questions they might have. So we're definitely, we're in pretty constant conversation with municipal engineers, and that's really the people we want to be talking to about this work. But, we'll continue to try. But it also depends on, those towns having the funding to get a project prepared.
Sure.
Yeah.
And the time is not good now. It hasn't been for many years, but still.
Yeah.
The opportunity is still there. You take advantage of it through other means to do it, to defray the costs, or to get them on board with the projects I'm sure they're thinking about, but they feel like they can't proceed with, but maybe they don't really realize there are other options available to them. It might be worth revisiting that again,
Mm-hmm.
I actually have a question about this table, or this pie chart. So is this just regional target funded projects, or is this a combo of regional target, state, and or
it doesn't include
grants?
State, it's just regional target.
You've had $462 million of regional target.
I think it's over 10 years, or I think this is over like
should be from 2017 to 2031.
Yeah, so it includes this current tip and then goes back to 2017.
Right, but you're getting like 13 to 14 million a year, so at most it would be a third of that.
That's true. It must include statewide projects.
Yeah, because like Rourke Bridge alone is like much of
right.
Right. And the reason I ask is because Tingsboro had several projects, mind you, they were on like Route 3, that were funded in the last 10 years. So I guess another note would just be reevaluate.
Yeah, we'll take a look at that spreadsheet and evaluate exactly how that's pulled together.
I don't think you see Pebble change.
No, you're right. And I just looked up on our project info recent Pepperell projects, and I think there's only one in design at the moment. There may have been one initiated recently, though. Tim, do you recall if Pepperell had a project initiated in Pepperell? I feel like I saw something in project review committee
It's
about that.
not ringing a bell.
Okay.
Pepperell.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
no.
in any case, yeah, I think whether it's part of the UPWP or if it's worth outreach to Pepperell to find out more if they're interested. You know, you can't fund a project in every community every year when you're trying to deliver a fiscally constrained program, but certainly if there's needs, that's what we're all trying to accomplish is problem solve on the transportation system.
Especially after a whole decade.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. If there's no other questions or comments, could we please have a motion and second to release the federal fiscal year 27 to 31 Northern Middlesex Transportation Improvement Program for 21-day public comment?
Motion to approve.
To release. Thanks, Steve.
I'll second it. I'll second it.
Okay.
It's fine.
Anyone in the boardroom?
Yeah, I think I moved to
Okay.
release. Steve said, yeah.
All right. Thanks, Pat. Thanks, Steve. Kelly, please call the roll.
Derek Schuster,
Yes.
Tim Paris,
Yes.
Pat Wojcik,
Yes.
Stephen Themelis,
Yes.
Belinda Duran,
Yes.
Karen Pulio.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you all. Next up is federal fiscal year 2027 Unified Planning Work Program development.
All right. So this is the time in the work plan development that we bring you a list of tasks, just to kind of give you a quick overview of what will be in the report that we'll be bringing to you next month. And that report will include full financial breakdowns of, you know, how much money we are budgeting for each task and the various subtasks that would be part of that. Overall, you know, I think about 2 years ago, we restructured our UPWP to have this kind of process where we kind of think through the phases of a project. So starting with management and then moving on to how we communicate out those projects through communications and engagement. Anything under task area 3 is really how we maintain our federal certification documents, our TIP, our LRTP, our UPWP. 4 is where we do a lot of data collection and sharing. So it's how we're monitoring our transportation network. Anything under task area 5 are more of like short to mid-range planning projects. And that's where like a lot of our corridor studies end up. So how do we support our communities in advancing those infrastructure improvement projects? Task area 6 is where we do more long range, like this is maybe like 20 to 25 year long range interdisciplinary planning, not panning. And then under task area 7, that's where we focus a lot of our transit system work. So that's how we've organized our tasks. In the next UPWP, you know, we're proposing under task area 1, those will pretty much all remain the same. That's been a steady source of management funds for the last couple of years. Under task area 2 for communications and engagement, we're proposing to maintain those quarterly or triennially public forums and panels. That's been a really good way to convene folks across the region on key regional topics and issues, so that we can start to see how we can collaborate together on projects and have, instead of our communities kind of being siloed away from each other. In task area 3, that's where, you know, the work that we had been planning to do on setting the stage for our next long range transportation, we'll really begin that in earnest in 2027, not in 2026. And we'll also be implementing those TIP pilot programs throughout the rest of this year and then starting into 2027. Task area 4, monitoring our network, won't change substantially. We are purchasing this year, we're purchasing some bicycle and pedestrian counters. So we'll be incorporating that into our traffic counting program. And then under task area 5, we're proposing to do some road safety audits for implementation of our Greater Lowell Vision Zero plan. continuing the Dunstable Route 113 corridor study, and then looking at an area of Lowell around the Pawtucket Canal for additional study. And then a new project, which is the Greater Lowell Innovation Charrette. So this is working with the city of Lowell and UMass Lowell around some areas where they've had a higher than normal rate of crashes, conflicts between pedestrians and drivers. And so looking to hire like 2 to 3 consulting firms to come in, do some quick design on like a charrette, like a multi-day charrette design process to really design those improvements and think about broader land use around the areas. And then working with the best concept to bring that like preferred design forward through like to a high level concept so that the city or UMass Lowell can advance that locally. Under task area 6, we're really going to be shifting from the development of our bicycle and pedestrian plan into implementation. And that's where we're scoping out a bike parking study and a crosswalk study. You know, we have these ongoing work with implementation of our regional housing strategy, which will begin with a housing accelerator that's really starting up right now and will continue into the next year. We just did a ULI technical assistance panel in Lowell, and we've asked MassDOT for funding to do another technical assistance panel on transportation-oriented development. And that might be in Tingsboro or in Chelmsford, TBD on that. Ongoing implementation of our comprehensive economic development strategy. And then really to kind of set up our next long-range transportation plan. And as part of our comprehensive economic development strategy and our regional housing strategy, we're looking to do a growth strategy for the region. So this is really identifying those core areas of where the region wants to grow from a housing and economic development standpoint, and where we want to focus preservation activities. So we've applied for grant funding for that. If we receive the grant funding, some of the match for that grant funding will come from our UPWP. And then finally, under strengthening our regional transit system, we'll be doing a coordinated public transit human services plan. That's a 4-year plan, and we last adopted it in 2023. So we'll be doing an update to that plan next year. And then proposing to initiate a Greater Lowell, Greater Nashua rail extension feasibility study. So we're in the process of working with the Massachusetts Association of Regional Planning Agencies to identify a funding process for this plan. But I do want to dedicate staff time to managing a consultant should we be able to get that funding. So those are the tasks we're looking to do in 2027. When we come back to you in May, we'll present a full draft of the Unified Planning Work Program. You should have that at least by the Friday before that meeting, so you'll be able to take a look at it and review it and ask questions. But we'll have a public comment period and then bring the revised plan back to you in June for endorsement. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Kelly. Did anyone have any thoughts or concerns, questions about the proposed tasks? Not hearing any. Sounds like you're in good shape to draft the next plan.
Right.
Thanks so much, Kelly.
Thank you.
Next item is TIP project review study. I think this is Emmanuel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Emmanuel Rakasa. I am a transportation planner at NMCAG. And today I will be presenting the TIP review study that we've been doing for the past couple of months. This study will focus on at the intersection and signal improvement at Boston Road and Allen Road intersection in Billerica. And this project was part of the broader Allen Road reconstruction project. But before the advertisement of the Allen Road reconstruction project, this project was taken out and implemented as a separate project in 2016. Looking at it, we do TIP review studies. The purpose is to compile and review data relative to completed project funders, so that we can see the before condition and after condition and see how much the project goal is met and how much the proposed solutions are effective or not. By evaluating project outcomes and measuring safety, the NMPO and regional partners can be more effective and data-driven decision making on future federal funds. For this study, we used a quantitative as well as qualitative framework to analyze and evaluate the implemented project. Next slide, please. So looking at the existing.
Looks like Steve.
There we go. Looking at the existing conditions, as you can see on the right, there is the map of the study area, and the study area starts from the Trimlet Road and goes all the way to the Shaoxin River, and the corridor is around 1,300 foot of roadway, and there are two intersections in the study area. One intersection is where the traffic signal installation is done. That is the Boston Road and Allen Road and the Dunkin' Donuts driveway. And there is also a stop control intersection at Shaoxin Road and Boston Road. Boston Road is urban principal arterial roadway. And before construction, there is a history of angle and rear-end crashes and turning crashes. And there is also courtesy crashes happening in that area. Courtesy crashes is when a driver yields to another driver contrary to the rule of the road so that the other driver can pass. This created crashes because the intersection is not controlled and it was unsignalized before. There was also a higher speed on key approaches, and there are several injury crashes, and there was also a pedestrian fatality in 2013 and the project area. Regarding intersection operation, there is a side street delay, difficulty entering or crossing Boston Road during peak periods, both for AM and PM peak periods. The intersection has a level of service of F. That means it is very congested and has a very low level of service. The Allen Road, there is also an open pavement area that created confusion for drivers, and that is the reason this traffic signal installation project is conducted. Next slide, please. The proposed improvements include, on the left, you could see this is the study area before construction in 2017. On the right, you could see after the project is completed, and the proposed improvements include installation of a new fully actuated traffic signal, modification of turning movements, signal phasing to improve access and reduce conflict. There is also installation of pavement markings, updated traffic signs, improved signage and visibility to improve operations and safety of the intersection. Next slide, please. As you can see here on the left, this is Boston Road in 2013 before the implementation of the project. As you can see, Allen Road is only a stop control intersection at that time. And on the right, you can see that is after the traffic signal is installed. So regarding geometric and roadway improvements, the project proposed to realign the Boston Road and Allen Road intersection to improve geometry in side distances. Also added extra lanes in each direction of Boston Road to improve capacity and operation. The project also widened roadway to accommodate lane configuration and multimodal features. Modified curb lines and roadway layout also for the new intersection configuration as well. Next slide, please. Regarding pedestrian and bicycle accommodation, as you can see on the left, before construction, there isn't any pedestrian accommodation, no sidewalks and bike lanes. The project proposed to add sidewalks on one side within the project area, installation of ADA compliant wheelchair curb ramps as well, improve pedestrian crossing at that signalized intersection, and installation of shared lane markings or bicycle showers also for bike riders. In addition to that, there is also a drainage and utility improvement. There is a new drainage infrastructure and water main replacement for long-term support and performance and resiliency of the project area. Next slide, please. So we did a crash data analysis, pulling data from impact, crash data from impact, going back from 2007 to 2025. And this crash summary is for the entire project area. And the chart on the left, as you can see, shows the 3-year rolling average crashes in the study area. As you can see, it was a peak period in 2007, averaging almost 14.7 crashes per year. And post-construction, it shows a decline despite an increase in crashes in 2024. And looking at what type of crashes happens from 2009 to 2011, 47% of total crashes involve injuries. That means crashes that happen in this area, 47% of them cause injuries. There is also a fatal pedestrian crash in 2013. Looking at the most recent data from impact from 2023 to 2025, only 20% of the crashes involve injuries post-construction, and only the 80% of the crashes, almost 80% of the crashes are property damage only crashes. So this indicates there is improved post-construction crash severity outcomes. So in the chart, you can see that there is an increase, a little bit of increase in crashes in 2024, although there is only 7 crashes in 2025, but the severity of crashes has greatly decreased. The chart in the middle shows us the manner of collision. And before construction, there is a controlled movement and unsignalized intersection that created angle crashes. So the chart compares before construction 2009 to 2011 and after construction 2023 to 2025. Angle crashes before construction there were 24 and after construction 9. So that is almost 63% reduction in angle crashes. This is due to improved control of crossing and turning movement after signal installation. So the chart, the table on the right shows us the safety summary. Looking at the total crashes, and comparing pre-construction 2013 to 2015 and post-construction to 2023 to 2025, total crashes reduced by 22%. Crash rate also reduced by 24.6%. Next slide, please. The earlier slide shows us like the safety improvement is in the entire corridor. That means the roadway corridor that is 1,300 foot of roadway. And staff also did crash analysis to see whether safety improvement is there any safety improvement or not, specific to the intersections that are improved. So we have 2 intersections. The first one is Boston Road and Allen Road and Dunkin' Donuts driveway intersection. That is a signalized intersection. A signal is installed in 2020. And there is another intersection with Boston Road and Shawshin Road with the shale gas. That is a stop control intersection. So looking at the first one and comparing the data from 2013 to 2015, pre-construction and post-construction from 2021 to 2023, total crashes reduced by 50%, EPDO reduced by 21%, and the crash rate is reduced by 52.1%. At the stop control intersection, the total crashes reduced from 9 to 4. That is 55% reduction. The APDO value also reduced by 61.9%, and the crash rate reduced by 57.1%. Next slide, please. Staff also pulled some data from RDs to see whether the new improved project improved operating speed or not, because one of the problems or the issues before construction was higher operating speeds in the area that caused injury crashes. And there are two charts here. The first one, the one on the left, shows us the 85 percentile speed before construction. That is the 85% of the vehicles are driving. That means that on Boston Road, it is 39 miles per hour. And on Allen Road, 85 percentile speed is 32 miles per hour. For Boston Road, the posted speed limit was 35 miles per hour, and the Allen Road, it doesn't have a posted speed limit before construction, but after construction, it is 30 miles per hour. Looking at the chart on the right and seeing the numbers after the construction, we see that on Allen Road northbound, 76.3% of the time, vehicles travel 20 to 29 miles per hour. That is less than the posted speed limit. And looking at the Boston Road in northbound and approach, 76.8% of the time, vehicles travel less than 30 miles per hour. And on Boston Road northbound of south of Allen Road, 93.3% of the time, vehicles travel less than 30 miles per hour. That shows us there is a speed improvement, and vehicles are traveling less than the speed limit, approaching the intersection, and that greatly help to reduce crime severity in that area as well after the installation of the traffic signal. And there is also no injury crashes happening in 2025, so that is a good improvement. Next slide, please. Staff also did a survey, two surveys. One is for technical staff, and the other is for property owners, residents, and community members to give us their feedback on the completed roadway improvement. The first summary is for the technical staff. Technical staff comprise of consultant, municipal staff, MassDOT staff, and other professionals familiar with this project. And 85% of them stated that the project met its objective. 85% viewed the project as a long-term value, and the technical staff ranked the most effective improvements. The first one is the fully actuated traffic signal, and the second one is the intersection geometry improvements. The added turn lanes and the sidewalk enhancements are the top ranked benefits of the project by the technical staff. Technical staff also shared their expertise on what they can recommend for similar projects in the future. They recommend that there should be earlier coordination with project abettors and nearby residential businesses. Better communication also to reduce construction impacts. Regarding construction management, they recommend there should be clear staging areas, and property access should be maintained, and the stakeholders and project operators should be notified in advance. For future, staff recommended continued stakeholders engagement as a key practice for future MassDOT or municipal intersection projects. Next slide, please. We also surveyed residents, property owners, and nearby businesses in Billerica around the intersection of Boston Road and Allen Road. We have 53 responses in total. Overall, they rated the intersection improvement 4.31 out of 5. Regarding the improvement of access to their properties, they rated it as 3.67 out of 5. Perceived safety near Their properties I rated as 3.67 out of 5. And for pedestrian improvements, they highlighted the sidewalks, crossings at the signalized intersection. The area upgrades were generally viewed as very effective or very effective. And there was also an open-ended question that asked residents for comment, and they identified the new traffic signal made a major improvement to intersection operations. It is now easier and safer to exit Allen Road onto Boston Road. Left turn from Allen Road becomes now more manageable after the construction. There is also improved driver comfort, predictability, and circulation. And the intersection is no longer viewed as difficult to navigate. And waiting time is also reduced together with delay. The next slide, please. To give a conclusion and recommendation, the TIF-funded improvement project has improved the goals that are set in the functional design report. That is improving traffic operations, reducing the site speed delay, improving intersection safety, enhancing pedestrian accessibility and bicycle accommodation. Overall, it improved operation and safety for all users at this intersection. There are recommendations that gives us insight for future, which is like improving pedestrian connectivity, adding sidewalk on both sides, adding crosswalks, because these projects only add crosswalks on one side, only at one location at the signalized, but there are like several businesses in the area. So adding crosswalks is also highlighted by the stakeholders as a possible improvement for the future, improving lighting and evaluating also bicycle accommodation based on demonstrated demand, because the current bicycle accommodation is on-street bike lane, and the feasibility of separated bike lane should also be explored. The other feedback is regarding strengthening project delivery and coordination. There should be a streamlined implementation to maintain proactive communication with residents and businesses and project operators. And the optimizing signal operation was also identified as, and we recommend to monitor traffic condition and refine signal timing as needed as well. Thank you, and feel free to ask me if you have any questions.
Thank you, Emmanuel. I always enjoy these, for the record, and would encourage you to possibly share this presentation either with TMG or at one of the upcoming conferences that MassDOT hosts, whether Innovation or Moving Together. I think these look backs are really illustrative of the benefit to the projects that the NMMPO programs and that staff work toward. So kudos on the presentation. Did anyone have any questions or anything to add?
These are road redesign reviews, standard practice after these tech products have been completed.
They are for NIMCOG.
Yeah, we do one every year.
Yeah, it's really, really great. First time I see one of this detailed. The data is positively overwhelming. Road redesign has worked, you know. So it's a great case study.
Certainly. Any other questions or thoughts for MPO staff? All right. Well, thank you again for the presentation and great job, Emmanuel. Next item on the agenda is a status report on TIP projects under design and construction. Tim, are you still with us? Yes.
I am.
Go ahead, Tim.
Right. Short list this month. 613-562, Tewksbury improvements at Shawsheen, Foster, Patton, and Beach. And we received the 25% for that one. And 613-120, Tewksbury bridge replacement, North Street over 495. We also received the 25% for that one. And we've had a slight reduction in the cost estimates. And that's all.
Thanks, Tim. And Kelly and staff, with regards to the development tips. We're not updating the TFPC at this point for your development program, but FYI for the region. Thank you for that note. Any questions for District 4? Seeing and hearing none. Any updates from LRTA?
We're just, as we go into the last quarter of the fiscal year, we're busy just wrapping up our capital projects. No changes from last month. I did want to give a quick update on something that we did yesterday. We were partnering with the Lowell Fire Department, and so a few of our 35-foot bus, 30-foot buses actually that were up for disposition. We actually donated to do a training exercise with the fire department, that they, if there was, a bus rollover and there were people trapped, or they were able to use, test out kind of all their different equipment. The bus held up really well, which is great. And we plan to share that with Gillig. But we had a lot of community partners there. The city manager, a few people from the city were there. Senator Howard and Rep Hong were there. And it kind of sparked a conversation of what we could do more in that regard. So stay tuned. But it was a really cool exercise. And again, just being a community resource that we all work together, and we're keeping safety top of mind here at the LRTA, and working with our first responders is a key piece of that. So and Trinity EMS was there as well. So again, just so that they have experience, and in the unfortunate case that there is some sort of accident like that. It's just good that they've handled the equipment before, seen the buses. One thing that was really great too, the wheelchair restraint. So they actually had a wheelchair. Our safety supervisor strapped in a wheelchair, and they had like a dummy in there, and the wheelchair did not move during the rollover, which is pretty impressive. So kind of kudos to our policy of why we have the operators strap our wheelchair users in. They know how to use the restraints properly. They're trained on it, and to see that was really great. And so so it was a really cool event. And again, just kind of we'll stay tuned because it sparked some ideas for things down the road. And it was a really cool way to use a bus that was past its useful life, and really had no value. When for folks on the meeting that aren't aware, when the buses meet their mileage in age and useful life, typically we put them out for like auction bid, and we get maybe a few $100 from scrappers, maybe $1,000 for maybe at the most. But occasionally, like when community partners do reach out, we donated like a paratransit van to the Lowell Fire Department for like their dive team response in the past. So we try to be able to do those things. Again, the vans and buses are generally past their useful life, so it's not like they're going to be in service operations or anything like that. But we try to help out where we can, and this was just this was a first for us. The fire department is using again as a training exercise, and it was just a really cool event. And again, there's going to be more, I think, more like it down the line. So that was great.
Can I ask a quick question? So you had mentioned the wheelchairs themselves did not move because they were strapped in properly. What was the effect on either wheelchair passenger or other passengers? Because people tend not to use seatbelts on buses. So.
Yep, exactly. And I actually wasn't there. But I know that again, it's going to be whether or not the person is strapped into the chair themselves. And as you said, that's a passenger situation. They did test out, using the roof hatch as an escape as well. So again, it was just, and thankfully we don't have to use those safety features. Often they also tested the fire suppression system. So everybody could see how that worked. It really was just, we got a lot of positive feedback from our maintenance team and our staff that were there, but everyone else that attended too. And the fire department was really happy to have the opportunity to do that. So it was great.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. Thank you. Yeah.
Any other questions for Ally or LRTA? All right, thanks for those updates.
Yep.
Is there any other business at this time? See the public meeting dates posted for the items that were released today. Thank you. Quick question. I apologize if I missed it. There was an administrative modification to the tip. Was that shared, Kelly? I don't think so.
Not this month, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want me to summarize it now, or were you saving it for May?
No, you can summarize it now if you like.
Sure, yeah. So in recent weeks, the Mass Rail and Transit Division made vehicle award announcements and operating assistance announcements as part of the Community Transit Grant Program, which includes FTA Section 5310 funding. Because it's a federal funding source, it's supposed to be reflected in the tip and is as a placeholder at the start of the year for mobility assistance program. However, we got permission from our Federal Transit Administration partners to program the awards via tip administrative modification, which doesn't actually require a board vote or release for public comment. The 5 vehicle awards in the Northern Middlesex region were to the LRTA for 4 E2A vans and 1 E model van. So congratulations to the Northern Middlesex region. If you have questions about 5310 investment and where it goes or what it's eligible, that's what the coordinated human transit and development, the coordinated plan document spells out where those investments are eligible. Justin, what's the acronym? You must memorize it by now.
DHSTP.
CHSTP. Yes. It's like there's like 3 variations.
Coordinated Human Services Transportation Plan. Yep.
Yes. So congratulations to the region on those no actions necessary with those awards. Could I please have a motion and second to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Pat or Belinda. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any objections? Any abstentions? All right. Great meeting, everyone. Have an excellent rest of your day.
Thanks all.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.